Greetings and welcome back. Tonight on this rainy and dismal, dreary evening here in Massachusetts, snow and rain and God knows, I'm kind of stuck in the house with the end of a bowl of gaslight and talking to a friend of mine earlier today, my best buddy Arnie, and he was reminding me of a story. About 25 years ago, I lived in an apartment complex that was a subsidized veterans housing complex, and it was managed by a local housing authority. Well, they were very, very slow with repairs and things like that. And you know, the place needed updates really bad, and the tenants were all complaining but weren't getting any response from the president of the housing authority. So long story short, the tenants took a vote to have somebody represent them to the housing authority, and they voted me in. So what was now what we were considering a tenants association, they made me its, you know, quote unquote president. So I had about maybe 20-25 people that wanted to get together and talk. Well, we ended up having some success with that, and I won't stretch that story out. The simple fact is we began having a monthly meeting. It was usually on a Thursday night, and I struck up a bargain with some people who ran a local VFW hall, and you know, it was inexpensive for us, and we only needed it for like 1 hour in the early evening on a Thursday once a month. So, well, anyway, one winter when we were just about to have our meeting, like the week before, there was a storm, and the VFW hall got roof damage, and you know, water came through, snow came through, and the ceiling tiles were coming down. Anyway, they had to renovate the place, so we couldn't meet there, and I had to call around to local venues. Anyway, I told you that story so you understand what I'm about to tell you. This is what my friend Arnie reminded me of. One Saturday morning, he and I met back in those days for a coffee, and we sat down at the counter, and I took my sunglasses off, and Arnie says to me, "Jesus, where did you get the black eye?" And I said, "Well, okay, you know how I'm the president of the tenants association where I live." He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you know how we would meet at the VFW hall?" He's like, "Yeah, the place that's closed now for renovations." I said, "Exactly." I said, "Well, I had to find another place for a meeting, and all the local places were just booked. There was nothing available, and we didn't want to skip the meeting because there was a lot of hot topics that we wanted to talk about." And so I ended up calling outside of town to a few places, including places that I didn't know, really. And I ended up finding one place that was really inexpensive. It was a little motor lodge way out in some rural country road. And it was called the Old Log Inn. And so I told everybody in the tenants association where it was, gave them the address, and said we'll be meeting there. So the night of the meeting came, and I was on my way out there, and I mean, I was out in the middle of nowhere and wondering, you know, how far is this place, when my engine started knocking real bad. I got scared. I pulled it to the side of the road. I didn't want to push it any further. I parked it, I locked it up, and I started walking. And, I mean, I was just waiting for somebody to come by. Maybe I could thumb a ride, but, boy, there was nobody on that road. I probably went about maybe a mile and a half, and I came across there was a little hatchback on the side of the road. But there were people in it, and I could see motion inside the car, and as I got closer to the car, I mean, it looked like they were, you know, fighting or something inside the car. The car was just rocking back and forth, and sorry, my alarm went off. And so I went over to the car, and the windows were really steamed up. I'm like, oh boy. So I knock on the glass, and some young dude rolls the window down, and I could see that there was a woman in there with him. And she just had a blanket thrown across her, and he didn't have a shirt on. So he looks at me, he's like, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, I'm sorry, I was just wondering, how far is the Old Log Inn?" And that's how I got the black eye. True story. Okay, you didn't have to laugh, okay. How many people saw that coming? That seems to be a local New England joke. And that's why I told it. Well, I really was the president of its Veterans Housing Authority, Tenants Association. That's all true. And anyway, I figured I'd use that as a segue into what I really wanted to talk about. I wanted to offer a few thoughts about the first meeting of my Blackstone Valley Pipe Club, which was held, as you see in my previous videos about it, at Michael's Cigar Bar in Worcester, Massachusetts, which turned out to be a nice place. I mean, I really liked that place. Mr. Mystery, who helped me set this up, he suggested that venue, and I gotta give him kudos for that. That was a great choice. Nice place, all stone and brick, and leather sofas and seats and nicely placed tables. Great sound system. A pretty impressive, sort of an artesian beer menu they had in there, as well as one of the most nicely stocked little window-walled cigar section. You can look through the window like a dog looking through a butcher shop window at just the wall of cigar offerings that they had in there. I mean, there was some nice choices. I didn't actually go inside there because I wasn't there for cigars that night. But another guy who came all the way out from Boston was James Kelly. And these two guys, they showed up bringing just great choices out of their cellars. Some really nice blends, delicious blends. Jim brought a tin of Acadia that he popped just for the occasion. I forgot how old he said it was, but boy, was that sweet. And it's amazing how much you learn from people or just sharing a smoke together. We sat and we chatted. Our meeting was supposed to go from 7 to 9 p.m. and it actually ended up going until just before 10 o'clock. Now this was a Tuesday night, mind you, International Pipe Smoking Day. I hope you all celebrated and enjoyed. We certainly did. And it's amazing what having something in common can do for the meeting of people who've never met before. Now I brought this, my little, oh, you've seen this puppy before, my little meerschaum, my little truth meerschaum that cannot lie. I brought it with me, and those guys had a couple of sweet chooch tubes as well. And boy, I ended up half the night just looking at these guys, and everything they said was riveting. The stories of their personal lives and what they do, and where they came from, and what kind of things they're into, and it was fascinating. I really didn't want it to end. The only thing that made it end was the fact that it was a Tuesday night and everybody had to work. So we ended up breaking up right before 10 o'clock. But yeah, the stories that went back and forth were fascinating. I can't thank those two guys enough. They brought a lot of sweet stuff with them. Mr. Mystery brought a backpack full of stuff. He was ready to go. And so anyway, we're going to do it again, and I feel much better about it now. I was a little concerned about what the turnout might be, and whether anyone was going to be interested at all. But when we got there and started talking, it really was something. And the fact that we were all members of the YTPC was kind of like the oil in the gears. It just, to have that in common was really it prompted so much conversation, because the videos posted by the YTPC aren't always about pipes and tobaccos. They talk about a lot of subjects, and so we had that to start from. You know, oh, did you see this guy's posting about that? And oh, I remember something that this other guy said. And we were quoting everybody. You know, Bradley and Stogie Farts and Matches and all these other guys, and just, I mean, you know them. You probably know most of the names that came up. But anyway, we didn't exclusively stay on those subjects. We launched from there, and after a while, it became really a kind of an in-depth human study. Getting to know you better. And boy, it was really cool. And we agreed that this is something we want to definitely do. And I feel much more strongly about getting out locally and marketing it around. I think I'm actually going to go around, maybe post some flyers in some local B&Ms, and maybe even in the apartment buildings around here, because there are people my age, and we have a lot in common, and I got to imagine that some of them must smoke pipes. So that's a place to start. But anyway, I just wanted to thank those guys for coming and bringing everything that they brought with them, and for the great conversation and the great time that we had. Now, I don't know anything about the frequency of the meetings. We'll figure that out. We have at least one nice venue, and we found out while sitting there and chatting that those other guys, especially, they knew of other venues, especially Mr. Mystery. He knew of a couple. And boy, I went Google searching, and I actually found quite a few, much more than I thought there were. So we're not going to have any shortage of venues, and we could even do it in personal space. Somebody wanted to come over here and do something at my place, get some pizza and some beer, and who knows. But that's the plan for the Blackstone Valley Pipe Club. The inaugural meeting was lucky because it was on IPSD, and very happy about that. And I do want to throw out a big shout out to Rune Dog, and I'll tell you why. Rune Dog made me promise that he would be listed as a charter member of the club, even though he couldn't be here. He wimped out. He wouldn't commute from Montana. I don't understand it. I mean, we'd have all done that for him. But anyway, we toasted Rune Dog for being one of the charter members. So, you start out small and things start catching on. And when you feel good about something and the way it happened, it's much more easy for you to sell it, more or less. I mean, there are no dues or fees or anything like that, at least not yet. I can't imagine that there would be. I mean, if we start doing things with a budget, maybe then we'll start thinking about that, but that's pretty far off, I think, right now. I'm just interested in having people show up. So again, I'm going to put the feelers out. If you're in Massachusetts, if you're anywhere near central Massachusetts, I mean, Jim drove probably, I don't know, I'm going to guess an hour to get there, and he had a great time. All of us did. So if you were thinking about it and didn't come, let me tell you, it's going to be a blast. It's going to be just an adult, in moderation kind of thing. Nothing crazy and wild. The place we were at had a sweet bar, nice beer selection. And if we do end up meeting on maybe Tuesday nights or something like that, then the places aren't crowded on on weeknights. So spacious, wide open. We could have sat anywhere, and it's a great music system going in there and everything. Just a nice bar. And because they don't serve food, you can actually order food and eat it in there, which I thought was great. So the next time, if we meet in there, I personally am thinking maybe getting a bunch of pizzas and put a couple of pictures on the table, on me. So if that's attractive to you, come by. The only requirement is that you bring a pipe. And hopefully something to smoke, but I'm sure the people that do show up will have plenty to smoke. So that's all I'm going to say tonight. I just wanted to thank the participants in the first Blackstone Valley Pipe Club meeting, and to throw out an honorary mention to Rune Dog, who was toasted and welcomed into the fold. And by the way, Rune Dog, if you're watching this, I saw your video responses to the little products I sent you. I'm glad you like them. When I sent you that English, it was more or less kind of an experiment, because you had said that you were thinking about trying more Englishes. So I picked it because it was one of my favorites, and I think if you smoke more English blends, you're going to start getting hooked on it like I am. Once you get hooked on Latakia, it's an intoxicating habit. But anyway, that's enough for tonight. I just wanted to tell you a bad joke, give you the update on the Blackstone Valley Pipe Club meeting on IPSD, and also to mention that I have collected quite a number of video responses to my 200 sub GAW, and they've been wonderful. I'm enjoying all of them. If you're thinking about doing one, please do it. And if you can remember, leave the link to your video in the comments of my GAW video. Or you could leave it here. You know, I'm going to get notified, but it would be cool if you could do that. Leave a link, or at least leave the title of your video so that I can find it. And I will be talking to you again soon. Have a great evening, and well, that's about it. Take it easy, guys.